Only a couple days ago, we got the Chapter 1 recap video for Poppy Playtime, but now we've already gotten more news on Chapter 4, when it might release, what the plot of this game is going to be, and I think we have a set answer on who the villain for this game is going to be, and it's not who you think it is. So for some reason you haven't heard yet, a couple days ago on their YouTube channel, Mob Games uploaded a video titled Poppy Playtime, The Story So Far, Chapter 1. It being a recap on what actually happened in the first game in the series, and being our first actual teaser for the next game, Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. And I did make a whole YouTube video about this teaser, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. But I uploaded that on the first day it came out, meaning a ton more secrets came out on that day that I never got to mention or bring up in my last video. And that's not all, because Mob Games themselves have been talking about Chapter 4 a lot recently, and I'm going to be going over all of it today. But throughout this video, I'm going to try to bring up the Chapter 1 recap as little as I can, because so many other people have already made videos on that, and there's no point in really even talking about it anymore. I want to go over what Mob Games said on their Twitter not too long after the video came out. They uploaded this photo of Huggy Wuggy sitting on the beach, and at first it might look innocent and normal, and that's what almost everyone thought, until only a couple hours later, Tyler Sanchez, one of the devs that works at Mob Games, said, "What secrets could be in here, I wonder?" hinting that there's something in this photo that we haven't seen, and could be another hint for Chapter 4. And I think I've found everything that they're hiding in this photo, and I'll give you guys a hint, it's way more than just one thing. So here we go. Now the first theory that I want to debunk is, are you sure you're not just overthinking all this? I mean, this is literally just Huggy Wuggy on the beach, and that might be that's all there is to it, and Tyler was just trolling the fan base. But obviously the main focal point of this image is Huggy Wuggy himself, and there actually is a secret on him that I want to bring up that debunks the whole "you're looking too far into this" theory. Now if we really take a good look at Huggy Wuggy, at first we don't notice much about him. Again, it's just Huggy Wuggy sitting on the beach, until you start to focus on his legs. And if we really look at them for a while, we notice a familiar shape, and that shape being the number 4. Huggy Wuggy is crossing his legs in the shape of a 4, which I think proves that this image is actually going to be talking about Chapter 4 specifically, instead of everything in here just being a coincidence or just fun Easter eggs. Because there is no way that the person that drew this accidentally drew his legs crossing like a 4 when Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is expected to come out in less than a year. But yeah, that's far from the end of this image, because it gets even crazier when we start to look in the background of Huggy Wuggy. More specifically, the magazines that are right next to him. The first one I want to go over is this one, which says, "Newest hit in the theaters, the 5 components." Now I want you guys to remember this photo right here of these weird 5 red lines with a red dot at the bottom. And from this magazine, it looks like this poster is for a movie called The Fifth Component, and there actually is a movie in 1997 called The Fifth Element. And if we remember back to this photo, it looks exactly like the poster from this movie, except instead of red lines, they're blue. And 1997 is only 2 years after the Hour of Joy happened, and when you actually look up The Fifth Element, it comes up with all this stuff about a website called Yarn, which I'm pretty sure posts clips from movies. But it's weird that that website specifically comes up, and you're probably wondering, Yarn? Why is that important? Well, I'm going to bring that up later. But anyways, let's move on to this next magazine, because that's actually not the only one in this photo. The next one says Hour, the weekly magazine. And because the last one was a play on words with The Fifth Component and The Fifth Element, I thought that this one also might be. So I searched until I found a magazine called Time, and it looks like I was right on the play on words theory, because time and hour are super similar and both have something to do with clocks. And this Time magazine with the blue background is actually about experiments, and we know that Poppy Playtime is a game actually about experiments, about how Harley Sawyer, aka the Doctor, would do experiments on children and actual people to make these monsters. Which I'm pretty sure that's why Mob Games put this magazine here, just to bring up the importance of the experiments in the factory, obviously being the most important part of the entire story, which is how the mascots are actually alive. But there actually is one more magazine in this Huggy Wuggy picture, and I would talk about it, but it's mostly cut off, and we only get to see the top left corner, and it says People, with some weird logo next to it. Now here's when I was going to move on, because I pretty much found everything in this photo. I was looking at this image all day, and I couldn't really find anything else other than these magazines. But right before I decided to move on with the rest of this video, I got a weird feeling that I was missing something. So I kept looking at this image, and I couldn't really even find anything. The most I got was this weird sand pyramid thing, which I looked up and I tried to find symbols for it, but I couldn't really find anything. But then all of a sudden, I think I found it. Now what I'm about to say might be a stretch, and it might not have anything to do with the actual monster in the game, but anyways, I decided to bring it up just in case it is true, and I get this whole thing right. If we take a look at the umbrella that's above Huggy Wuggy, there's a pattern on it, red, blue, and yellow. And at first I couldn't really find anything about that, but then I saw on the top left of this image, there's a character that the fans have actually been wanting for a while, and that's Brawn the dinosaur. And now whether this is teasing that he'll show up in Chapter 4, maybe he'll actually make an appearance and be a villain that we have to fight, or he'll just make a cameo like in Chapter 2, but then suddenly it came to me. The pattern on the umbrella is red, blue, yellow, and Huggy Wuggy is blue, and Brawn the dinosaur is red and yellow. Now, like I said, this might be a stretch, but because Brawn the Dinosaur's colors are on the umbrella and he makes an appearance in this image, I think Chapter 4 will be the game where we get a Brawn the Dinosaur boss fight. Now, I doubt he's going to be the main villain for the game, because usually the main villain is something completely new, because then it adds more theorizing to the fan base, having us guess who the next villain's going to be. And I will talk about the main villain in a second, and while yes, his pattern is on the umbrella and he makes an appearance in the image, I feel like I needed more proof. So I looked around more in this image, and then I saw it. The drink Huggy Wuggy's holding is red with a yellow lemon on top of it, also being Brawn's colors. So because Brawn's colors appear multiple times in this photo, I'm 100% convinced that he will make at least an appearance in Chapter 4, possibly being the side villain for the game like how Miss Delight was in Chapter 3 and the Wuggies were in Chapter 2. But now it's time to answer the main question of this video. Who is the main villain of Chapter 4 actually going to be? First of all, is it going to be the prototype? I don't think so. Like I just said, mob games like to have a brand new character whenever they're releasing a new chapter of Poppy Playtime. Like if Brawn was the main villain for Chapter 4, it would be cool at first, but then we would realize that we already know his character and there wouldn't be any really mystery around him, who he was in his past life, what his personality is like, whether he's going to talk or not. But there has been a theory going around that I do want to talk about and add to. But when the recap video for Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 came out, Mob Games gave us this teaser. Something looms in the dark, but to move forward, we must learn from the past. So let us start from the beginning. What I want to focus on is those first couple words. Something looms in the dark. Hold on. What is the actual definition of loom? Well, if you look up loom definition on Google, it'll tell you to appear as a large, often frightening or unclear shape or object. But what if we're looking at the wrong definition of this word? Because while yes, that is a definition, another meaning for the word loom is a machine that makes fabric. And there was a secret code in the Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 recap video, when if you decipher it, you get this sentence. On felted feet and with bated breath, sleep draws ever near. Felted feet. Felt is also another type of fabric. So obviously our hint is that the Chapter 4 monster is going to be made out of some type of fabric. But the thing is, this sentence is super close to catnap, because catnap is also kind of made out of fabric, and catnap makes people go to sleep with the red smoke that he breathes out. But there has been a rumor going around that Mob Entertainment copyrighted the name Yarnaby, which if that's true, that almost 100% confirms the name of the villain for Chapter 4. And yarn is super close to fabric, so what if this Chapter 4 villain is some type of yarn monster? And what if I told you that we've already seen something like this in Poppy Playtime? In one of the recent Project Playtime phases, we got a bunch of new skins, one of them even being a Yarn Mommy Longlegs. What if this skin was actually a hint at the Chapter 4 villain the entire time? But now what about the prototype? While he's probably not the main villain, he'll surely be in this game some way, right? Well, I actually have a theory about that too. But when Chapter 3 ended, everybody thought that Chapter 4's monster was going to be the prototype, because in Chapter 3, Poppy said that Catnap was our last obstacle before going against the prototype, and we defeated Catnap, so shouldn't we see him in the next game? Well, I think Chapter 4 is the game where we're going to finally get to see the prototype's face. And if not that, maybe his body or his arm, or we'll at least hear him speak. Because in all of the teasing they've been doing for Chapter 4, he's been in a lot of it. Like how most people think that the prototype is actually talking to us in the Chapter 1 recap video. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up my theory. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want more Poppy Playtime videos, make sure to leave a like on this one so I know to make more. Goodbye.